Today, let's talk about some of my favorite retellings. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today I decided I wanted to do an episode on some of my favorite retellings. And in true fashion with just about everything I do on my channel, I started making the list, and I was like, I can make this into one video, right? I can make it into one. Surely I have not read that many retellings that I have, like, so many. Yeah, I do, actually. I started making the list, and then the list kept getting longer, and I knew, like, I was probably like 5 or 6 books in, and I'm like, okay, it's getting a little long, but in the back of my head, I knew, I was like, oh, there's still this book, though. There's still this book. And what about this one? And so I was like, I'm just going to keep adding them, and I kept adding them, and then the list ended up kind of long. Then, like, on the other end of it, I'm not even done yet. Like, because I know there's some books that are in my TBR right now that are also retellings that I can't wait to read. So, like, yeah. I don't know why I thought I could make this into, like, one episode and then just be, like, done with it. So this is going to be a new series. I already have so many series happening on my channel, but what's one more, right? And this one's really good, like, favorite retelling. So before we get into it, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all we do on this channel is talk about books. So if you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. So when we say retellings, I am thinking like fairy tale retellings. Okay, this also kind of falls under like Disney too, because I know that Disney does a lot of fairy tale retellings, like Cinderella, Peter Pan, Beauty and the Beast, Little Red Riding Hood, things like that. That's what I mean when I talk about fairy tales. This also falls under like Grimm fairy tales, which, like, I know Disney draws a lot of inspiration for that, for their films off of that. There are even a few like mythos books on this list, because I also think those are retellings, like fictional retellings of Greek mythology, etc. But yeah, I'm just gonna do three titles for you today because, like I said, I don't know why I thought I could fit this in. I could do more. I could do like 5 or 6 on here, but usually like 3 is sort of my go-to, and usually by then people have tuned out anyway. So yeah, 3 books it is. So I was gonna kind of try and theme this because, like, I noticed when I was making the list, some of them like kind of go together or they are under the same category. Like, I have a few Cinderellas, and like I actually have quite a few Peter Pan retellings. But instead of theming it, I am just gonna popcorn pick and just do 3 titles today of some of the retellings. So yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. Okay, let's start with an Alice in Wonderland retelling with Alice by Christina Henry. Y'all, this is the first Christina Henry book I ever read, and oh my gosh, it delivered on so many levels. I absolutely adore this book. I read it so long ago too, and I still think about it. So basically, like I said, this is an Alice in Wonderland retelling, and this is very adult, I would say. Not just because, like, there's not really sexual content in it, but there is a lot of adult content, and it is very gore heavy, in my opinion. Basically, we wake up in an asylum with Alice, and she is in a cell next to the Hatter. But I don't think that's what they call him in the book. I feel like his name is like Hatcher. But they're like wall mates, and all of a sudden they are presented with an opportunity to escape the asylum. And so they do, and they end up together outside trying to get out of the large city that they're in, which would be kind of like the setting for Alice in Wonderland. As they're trying to escape the city, though, they're hitting up all of these places, and each of the main characters from, like, what you remember from Alice in Wonderland, like the rabbit, the caterpillar, the Cheshire Cat, all of these people, these characters that are in the book are now in this book considered like mob boss type people, and so they get like trapped in their kind of games of trying to escape the city. Okay, I don't think I'm explaining it that well, but it is a very, like, complicated and deep storyline that I really was not expecting. This was also insanely dark compared to what the original storyline is. If you're thinking of the film or the book, those storylines are not really that dark. This one is. So I would say definitely be prepared for that. There is a sequel to this called Red Queen, also by Christina Henry. It was not as good as Alice, in my opinion. It was not as good. I have a soft spot for this book. I absolutely adore it. It's one of those ones that I could go back and read again and again and still be utterly shocked and probably slightly disgusted by what's happening on the page. I would definitely recommend this for adult audiences, but this one will forever be my favorite Alice retelling. The next book is A Little Mermaid retelling, and it is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. I feel like a lot of people have read this book. It's very popular and it's very good. So yeah, I feel like we all understand the Little Mermaid synopsis. You know, a young girl wants to go to the surface to be a human, and she gets her voice taken away and is subjected to human life, and then she has so many days to like get the prince to fall in love with her, or like go back underwater forever or whatever, or she like has to trade her soul to the sea witch. This does follow that whole plot line pretty closely, except the siren in this book, aka Ariel, that's not her name in the book though, I can't remember what it is. She did not want to go to the surface. She was put there as punishment from her mother, who is the sea witch. Every year that a siren is alive, they're allowed to take one heart. And I forget the reason why she gets punished and put up there, but it has something to do with either she took too many or she didn't take the one she was supposed to take. Something to do with that. So she's punished and put on the surface with legs and everything, and she has to basically like survive up there, and it is contingent on her getting back underneath. She has to steal a very specific heart to be allowed back into the ocean world with her family. This is another dark retelling. I would not say it's as dark as Alice, definitely not. This had an amazing amount of world building in it. I absolutely love the work that Alexandra Christo did on this book. It really just came alive. And she took that whole idea of the Little Mermaid and she really ran with it. And I feel like even though you can understand the underlying plot for like the idea of it, this felt so unique on its own. I felt like she really put so much into it and made it feel like its own entity. There was also some really good rep in this book, and I just really loved the characters. Like, okay, this book is a little bit big and it is kind of like fantasy based, so, and you know, fantasy is a little bit of a struggle for me, but this really worked, and I loved the whole idea of the casting. It was not simple, but she made it feel so accessible. This had a lot of moving parts in it, and each of these characters had pretty big backstories and things that we were supposed to put a lot of time into. It didn't feel difficult though. The accessibility was really there. And of course, in true fashion, this is a love story at the heart of it, and it just delivered in so many ways. I felt very conflicted throughout the whole book, and I could not read it fast enough. It was truly just one of my favorite retellings. So yeah, this is probably my favorite Little Mermaid retelling. I honestly don't read that many retellings of the Little Mermaid. I have them on my TBR. Like I said, I have a lot of retellings on my TBRs. I have a lot of Little Mermaid retellings. I don't ever read them. So, I don't know. Maybe that's something I should look into. Maybe there is one that's better than this one, but so far this one I absolutely love. Okay, this last one is a Medusa retelling, and it's Athena's Child by Hannah M. Lynn. If y'all been on my channel a minute, y'all know that I fangirl Hannah M. Lynn so hard. I absolutely love her work. She did a whole trilogy called The Grecian Women, and it's this one that's about Medusa, and then there's another one that's about the Spartans, and then the third one is about the Amazons. They're all fantastic. Okay, I absolutely love the series, but this one will forever have my heart. It is my favorite retelling ever. Like, I feel like it's better than the Amazon Warrior Women one. This one is a Medusa retelling in a way that I never thought I wanted to hear. This is basically the origin story of Medusa. How she went from being like a maid, or like what you would consider like a nun for Athena in her temple, and how she eventually was punished and became Medusa. How she like went from her life there and basically became a cast-off in an island with her sisters, which if you didn't know, her sisters are also cursed with the same affliction that Medusa is cursed with. And it just tells her whole story. Never in my life did I think that I would be like a Medusa fan. Yes. And that's mainly because we kind of grow up hearing about Medusa in a very negative light. You never really hear about her origin story. She's the villain, right? In every story, she's the villain. In this story, you really get the whole idea of how she became that way, who she was. And I know that a lot of women especially find Medusa to be very relatable, and her whole story very endearing and triumphant. And I didn't really get that as much until I read this book, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I've been looking at this all wrong. I never knew any of this stuff, and it's mainly because I don't study Greek mythology that much. Like, it's not my favorite mythos to look into, so I didn't really know the story behind Medusa. Hannah and Lynn does an insanely good job of keeping things incredibly accurate. Like, if you Google things, I went on a Googling spree with this book, okay? And almost everything that Hannah put in this book is so well researched. I feel like none of it is fiction. Of course it's fictionalized, but it's like she does her work when she writes these Grecian women series. She does her work, and you can just tell. And I feel like if that's a concern to you, that you don't want it to be overly fictionalized, if you want it to be like fairly accurate to Greek history, Greek mythology, read her books. They're fantastic. She puts in the work. It's so well done. And her storytelling is amazing. I get so emotional when I read her books. I just absolutely love them. She makes me care so much. She makes me fall in love. Every single book of hers, I think, is just beautifully done. But the Grecian women in general are spectacular. So yeah, if you're wanting a Medusa retelling, please read this. It's so good. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. This is actually pretty short. Like, it's a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be. I could probably tack on a couple more books, but it's really hot in my office. I didn't really prepare anything else. Like, I'm looking at my list right now, and I'm like, yeah, I could talk about this, but I do want to, like, go back and reread the synopsis to make sure I'm not, like, spilling anything to you guys. But, yeah, let me know if you want an entire episode of just Peter Pan. Okay, because seriously, I have enough books to do an entire episode on Peter Pan retellings. It is the retelling genre that I probably read the most, or like the retold story that I read the most. Definitely Peter Pan. I don't know why though, because like I didn't even really like that movie that much when I was a kid. I don't know why I read it so much. Maybe it's just more readily available. I feel like that could be it. That and Cinderella. I have a lot of Cinderella retellings too. But yeah, let me know if you want like a themed one, and we can like negotiate that. We can set it up. We can make it happen. Whatever. Make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week. Let me know in the comments some of your favorite retellings. If you have some that you want to recommend to me. If you've read any of the ones I talked about today, I love hearing from you guys. So yeah, hit all the buttons, do all the things, and I will see you all next time. Bye!